3, 2, 1.
You guys give up, or you're thirsty for more?
Headbands watching on repeat. The 80s and 90s can't be beat. So rhymes and question charts. Let's blast and take decks in our cards. 80s dreams and 90s haze. Let's recall back to our favorite days. Welcome days.
Hello and welcome to Totally 80s and 90s Recall. If you're new to the show, this is a podcast where we'll dive into everything the radical decades, the 80s and 90s through our way, from music and movies to television and pop culture. For all of our returning listeners and subscribers, thanks for supporting us, and it's great to have you back. And for any new listeners, we're so glad that you found us. I am one of your hosts, David, joined as always by the man who taught Toonces how to drive. It is my good friend, Rob.
Ooh, baby, I like it raw. Yeah, baby, I like it raw.
Well, I thought we'd do a little something different today.
That sounds good.
You know, usually I have
Prepared?
hello. You know, what do you call it? An interesting intro.
Yeah, it's a hello.
Yeah, we're going to go with...
No hello today.
And now, Deep Thoughts by Jack Handy.
I thought we'd read some of his classics.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I think a good product would be Baby Duck Hat. It's a fake baby duck, which you strap on top of your head. Then you go swimming underwater until you find a mommy duck and her babies. And you join them. Then all of a sudden you stand up out of the water and roar like Godzilla. Man, those ducks really take off. Also, Baby Duck Hat is good for parties. It's good.
That's good.
If you saw two guys named Hambone and Flippy, which one would you think liked dolphins most? I'd say Flippy, wouldn't you? You'd be wrong, though. It's Hambone. If God dwells inside us, like some people say, I sure hope he likes enchiladas, because that's what he's getting. If a kid asks where rain comes from, I think a cute thing to tell him is God is crying. And if you ask why God is crying, another cute thing to tell him is probably because of something you did.
Yeah.
That's good. All right.
Jack was always blunt and to the point.
Maybe in order to understand mankind, we have to look at the word itself. Basically, it's made up of two separate words, mank and eind. What do those words mean? It's a mystery, and that's why so is mankind. To me, it's always a good idea to always carry 2 sacks of something when you walk around. That way, if anybody says, "Hey, can you give me a hand?" you can say, "Sorry, got these 2 sacks." It's good advice. When I was a kid, my favorite relative was Uncle Caveman. After school, we'd go play in his cave, and every once in a while, he would eat one of us. It wasn't until later that I found out that Uncle Caveman was a bear. To me, clowns aren't funny. In fact, they're kind of scary. I've wondered why this started, and I think it goes back to the time I went to the circus and a clown killed my dad. Yeah.
They get dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing kids like is to be tricked. For instance, I was going to take my little nephew to Disneyland, but instead I drove him to an old burned-out warehouse. Oh, no, I said, Disneyland burned down. He cried and cried, but I think that deep down he thought it was a pretty good joke. I started to drive over to the real Disneyland, but it was getting pretty late.
That's my favorite one so far. Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like curling up on a floor in front of the fireplace and just rolling around the room like a tumbleweed and not even caring if I knock things over or break them. And if people get mad, maybe because it's their house or something, you can just shake your head and go, what happened? Yeah, there you go. So there's some...
and those were what?
Those
were...
And now, Deep Thoughts by Jack Handy.
Through the retelling of Rob.
Yeah, and Jack Handy was actually a real guy.
I know.
I always thought he was
I think he was a writer on the show.
I always thought, yeah, he was.
Yeah, you thought he was real?
Yeah. He was a staff writer for years.
Yep.
He actually penned Toonces the Cat. And Unfrozen Caveman.
Unfrozen Caveman.
Happy Fun Ball.
Happy. I love Happy Fun Ball.
He did all those.
Happy Fun Ball's great.
There you go. So
with the kids acting like it's the most fun thing in the world, and then the list of, they say something like it was found from a rock that fell from space. Do not taunt Happy Fun Ball.
do not touch Happy Fun.
I always looked forward to those. I liked the deep thoughts, and sometimes Sometimes they're really good. Other times you're like, oh, okay, I didn't get that one. There was one he told, I remember it's like the kid stuck his head out the window while riding in the car, and then his head got ripped off, and he goes, but then maybe he won't stick his head out the window anymore. I don't know. It was something like that. And
Well,
it was
like the
super
clown
funny.
one where he goes,
It killed
then I
my
went to a circus and a clown killed my dad.
Killed my dad. So
there you go.
Yeah. I wonder what his process was. Just
don't know.
probably use whatever substance was available and then draw something up. You think Lorne Michaels was standing over him? Jack, I need the, I'm going to need those deep thoughts.
I thought those are funny.
All right.
Start today with a little philosophy from Jack Handy.
Philosophy.
Philosophy.
Yeah,
Philosophy?
That's a tough word.
It is.
Philosophy.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, you can wax poetic for us and tell everyone what subject we're covering for this week's
We're talking
episode.
about our favorite characters from SNL. Well, not favorite characters.
Characters.
Our favorite...
Performers.
Yeah, our
Actors.
favorite primetime players.
Not ready for primetime player.
There you
Ooh.
go. Our players.
Most of them-
from SNL.
Yeah, most of them are
90s
now
SNL.
primetime
Yeah.
players.
Yeah,
But then, just up and coming
that's right.
primetime players.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Saturday Night Live, I would say a pretty big deal to, I think, both of us.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say 87, 88 to like 93. That's my sweet spot
Yeah.
of, like, I never missed it. Like, I watched it. I watched it all the time. Like, I made sure every Saturday night I stayed up late.
I was going to ask you, do you
And I
remember
watched
staying up late?
I did. I did it all the time.
I don't
So-
remember staying up late to watch it.
I had a TV in my bedroom,
Yeah.
and then I would watch it on that sometimes. But sometimes I'd want to watch it on the big TV. So once, my parents went to bed early enough, so I'd just go back out in the living room, and then sometimes Dad would go, turn it down.
Yeah. I remember later in the 90s, I'd stay up and watch it, especially if like I knew a musical act was going to be on.
Oh, yeah.
So then I would catch it. And that's the part about, I think, SNL that I hadn't thought about until we're sitting here is that the cultural element of it where it bridged a lot of times musical artists were almost bigger, or a musical artist or the guest was, the content of the show wasn't
and that's
always
my,
funny, but sometimes the
going,
people that were on.
going through the research, it seemed like particularly in the 90s, they really started hitting home runs with the musical acts.
Yeah.
In the 80s, a lot of times they would get maybe more up and coming type bands or things like that. But in the 90s, they started being like, if you were a hot band, it started being part of the circuit to do Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
Like you would get asked. And then maybe they'd incorporate you into a sketch or do something like that. But definitely, there's that famous meme that goes around. So when Nirvana was on the show, Charles Barkley was a host.
Oh, yeah.
And that was early 90s. And there's this weird thing where Charles Barkley has his hand on Dave Grohl's shoulder, and he looks mortified, like he doesn't understand why he's touching him. And they did those little spots you'd see him on NBC, and he'd be like, tune in this Saturday night for me hosting Charles Barkley and musical guest Nirvana, and they just kind of stood there, you know. So, and the meme says something like, "I was only a Nirvana fan until Charles Barkley left the band," or something like that. So that was pretty good. But so I'd say, like I said, 87, 88 to 93. Now, I watched it way past that. Like, I kept watching it because when those new folks came in, the Will Ferrells, and then even up into 2014, 2015, because mid-2000s, you had the Andy Samberg, Sudeikis, Bill Hader.
That's probably where I stopped watching.
I still tuned into those because they had the digital shorts. Maya Rudolph, Tina Fey, they were hilarious. Sudeikis was hilarious. I mean, I'll say one of the best. I mean, Daryl Hammond's a real good impressionist, but Bill Hader, one of the best impressionists Saturday Night Live I think's ever had. Like he's got some just home run sketches where he's doing Al Pacino. His Al Pacino is off the charts.
And his stuff. Who did Stefan?
That was him.
Yeah,
he's Stefan. Yeah.
that's
So,
what I thought.
but the early '90s cast that was I don't want to say it's our cast, but it's kind of our cast.
No,
right?
absolutely.
And if you look back at that, it was like an all-star cast. That maybe you didn't know at the time it was an all-star cast, but it's an all-star cast. I mean, we're talking about the Dana Carvey, Mike Myers. You got Adam Sandler. You got David Spade. You got Chris Farley. You got Chris Rock. You got. I mean, there's just a slew of Kevin Nealon still on the show. I mean, you got all these guys, and then the band G.E. Smith and the Saturday Night Live band.
That's right.
And G.E. Smith came from where, Rob?
Lead
guitarist for
I don't know.
Hall and Oates.
Oh, I
that's good, right?
It's Daryl Hall and John.
Yeah, I got you.
You can't say Hall Notes. They
All
don't like
right,
it.
fine.
We've already talked about that.
I know. They haven't sent us a cease and desist yet, so we're okay. No, but you imagine you're G.E. Smith,
And that's your gig.
You're the
man.
lead guitarist for Hall & Oates, Daryl Hall and John Oates.
Yeah.
And then you get a phone call and you're like, hey, now that you're done with that, you want to come be the Saturday Night Live? And for like 12 years, he was the band leader.
I kind of feel
for
like that with the Roots and Jimmy Fallon.
Oh, yeah.
I
they
mean, you
just
land
slid
that
right
gig
into
and
that.
you're,
Yeah. They're good for
you're
life.
solid. Yeah.
So, so I was watching a ton of Saturday Night Live when it could, because remember, we didn't have a lot of reruns back then.
No.
And there's no streaming, can't access it.
No.
So you have to watch it on Saturday night. But after I started watching that, my dad said, that show's been around for a long time. And I'm like, okay. He watched it when it first came out.
Yeah.
And Nick at Night was running reruns of the original cast, Dan Aykroyd, Chevy Chase, all them. And I used to watch them with them, and there was some funny stuff on there. Mr. Bill.
Yeah.
They would crush him all the time. And then I always used to like the Land Shark, because they'd be the Candygram, man.
Canogram.
And then Land Shark eats them. And then the two Wild and Crazy guys, Steve Martin. But my favorite of all time, my favorite sketch from those first seasons, and I used to laugh at it all the time, it's Dan Aykroyd, and it's an infomercial. And he's doing Super Bass-O-Matic 76.
Yeah.
And it's just a blender, but he puts the whole bass, into the blender, blends it, and then Folklore he drank it, because if you look at his face, he goes, that's terrific bass. I mean, it's so good.
What's the one he does where he's got he's on a talk show?
Oh, yeah.
And he's doing the same thing where he's trying to
Oh,
pawn
that-
off these toys.
Those are the
same-
bad toys. Bag of glass.
Yeah, bag of glass.
And then Chainsaw Teddy Bear, or whatever it's called.
And she's trying to convince him that these
are
products
bad
aren't
toys.
safe, and he takes a regular teddy bear and he talks about how somebody could get choked by it or
Well, they
suffocated
had
by it.
a plastic phone, and he puts the wire
Yeah,
around his
that's
neck,
right.
and he goes, "Oh, I'm just gonna call my friend here." Ah!
I forgot about that
Starts
bag of
dying.
glass.
Yeah,
No.
but Super Bass-O-Matic 76. That was probably one of my favorites. That was my favorite from back then.
Yeah.
And I would watch those with my dad. And then you had the Bill Murray nerd sketch, the Rosanna Dan. The early episodes, they were really funny. So what I had access to was Current, which was early 90s, the Chris Farley cast and all of them. And then I got 76, which is Dan Aykroyd, Jim Belushi. I used to like the one, too, where they go into the restaurant. What you order? And he goes, cheeseburger, cheeseburger.
I remember my mom
Oh, they
used to
didn't
say,
have
cheeseburger. And that, when I was growing up.
Well, it's the only thing they served.
Now, okay, I might be getting my shows mixed up.
You might be.
What's the one? It was Martin Short, wasn't?
Well, he was, but he didn't show up until the early 80s.
Yeah, okay, what's the one that we used to always laugh at where they're the swimming Olympic?
Yeah, so that's on, that's an episode. So that's, you and I, that might be one of our favorite sketches.
I just think
we caught that on a rerun, I think, or like Nick at Night, or like a best of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm thinking that's 82, 83,
Yeah.
but
It's
it's
like
Christopher Guest, and they're the synchronized swimmers. He
Yes.
goes, I love Martin.
Yeah, I know you.
I'm not a
I know you.
strong swimmer.
Yes. I just remember them sitting there going,
No, that's great.
I know you.
I know you.
Yeah.
I think they were trying to get synchronized swimming into the Olympics.
Yeah.
But Martin Short's all dressed up like a weirdo, and yeah.
I'm not a
So
strong
we watched some of the not a strong swimmer. So, but I did like those. They're still funny. Early 80s. I think I laughed more because it was more relevant to me at the early 90s stuff, because those topics they're covering makes sense. Because even a dumb sketch, like I remember Chris Rock, he didn't get a lot of sketches all the time, but he had this one dumb sketch, and it was at a Thanksgiving, and it was the turkey, but they were doing the Reebok pump, and it was like the turkey was flat, and he goes, just pump it up, and you had to pump it. It was like, it's a dumb sketch, but at the same time, it was just funny and relevant at the time, and so. You look back on all those. I mean, they had a lot of dumb. I used to like the dumb sketches. Like, one of my favorites was Super Colon Blow. Like, why is that funny?
Their
like,
commercials
as
are
like
funny.
a 12-year-old, why do I find Super Colon Blow buddy? I don't know. But it starts out as colon blow, and then he goes, "Oh, it's the most fiber on the." Nope, not since we Super Colon Blow, and then it just keeps going up. And they had a great song to it. It was Super Colon Blow.
Oh, and they're like, was that "Oops, I Crap My Pants"?
Oops, I Crap My Pants. That was a later one.
That was
That's
later, but
mid-90s.
Yeah, but that was.
Another good one from the late was the Massive Head Wound Harry.
I wrote that down in my notes.
You
later,
imagine like they pitch these sketches every week. You're at a table with all these other comedians, and the name of your sketch is Massive Head Wound Harry. And then the best part about that sketch is they
The
put
dog.
corn syrup or something on his head wound, and the dog's ripping it off.
He's like, whoa,
and you can
boy.
see Dana Carvey like, hey, calm down.
He's pulling the
yeah.
fake head off.
I love Massive Head Wound Harry.
Yeah.
So some of those one-offs were always funny, I thought. So, but those are the ones we'd look forward to where, and those would be the ones like they would bury between like 12:15 and 1 a.m. That's where those sketches would fly in, because at the top of the show, you're getting all the home runs.
Yeah.
You're getting basically what everybody expects, a Wayne's World, a church lady. You'll get something like that. And so.
Well, yeah, and then those are sometimes the most quotable ones. Like you would,
Well, they are.
because they were allowed to let loose, and you know at the writer's room, they're like, let's just
do
let
it.
you go.
I know. But those sometimes were the ones you'd find yourself laughing at more, because you remember Massive Head Wound Harry.
Yeah.
Not that I don't remember other ones, but you just remember those ones. And they're just one-offs.
Well, that's
it's not like it was a recurring
What was
character.
it? Kevin Nealon's one where he, Mr. Bad Depth Perception.
Oh,
or
I
no
love that
depth,
one. Yeah,
and
no
so
depth
he would
perception.
just drop stuff,
It's
and
great.
and he talked really loud.
Well, he
'cause
had
he thought you were far away, so he would.
He had another one where he was 5 feet from the news desk, and Dennis Miller goes, "We're going to go to correspondent Kevin Nealon 5 feet from the news desk. Kevin, what's going on over there?" And he goes, "Hey, Again, you pitch that in the writer's room, and they're just like, "Yeah, let's just see what happens."
Yeah.
No, they didn't care.
That's
so,
funny.
yeah, but like the other one I really liked. Obviously, it's not going to be on our thing today, but they did a Zagat. With the food menus,
Yes.
and Chris Farley's like the wife, and Adam Sandler is the husband, and they're trying to figure out where they want to eat. And you can see Adam Sandler, Chris Farley's so into it that
Well, he's like rubbing his leg.
yeah,
and
and
stuff.
Sandler
He's
can't try. He's trying so hard not to
Oh,
laugh.
Hank. Yeah. That's right. Kill me now, God. Give me cancer now, God.
It would say stuff like "wonderful Italian fare," and then it was just great. So,
Well, that's the one that he says, "Holy cannoli." And to this day, I still like. That's where I got that from. Whenever we go anywhere, I'll go,
Well, I have so
holy
many.
cannoli.
yeah, I have so many things I've got from this show during this time, but I just,
Hank.
I just remember, and I think Saturday Night Live at that moment, for at least the group of people I hung out, kids I hung out with, we used to go to middle school and high school, and we would quote like sketches we saw. People also, other people that I knew watched Saturday Night Live, and we'd be like, "Oh, did you see the Massive Head Wound Harry sketch? Oh yeah, that was great." So, and this is one of those that if you did miss Saturday night and people were talking about it at school, you're just like, I didn't watch it. Oh, you can't stay up late. Yeah, and then you get kind of like a weird look or something.
Well, and
So.
I remember later on in our, we've told the story before, but in the summers we would, we'd just go back and forth to each other's houses, and Comedy Central.
Yep.
And a lot of times they would run.
They'd run
old SNL sketches or something, and
that's where we catch up.
we'd catch stuff that I'd never seen and thought they were super funny.
Oh yeah, because they had like, what was that classic sketch that I probably missed the first time around, but it was Tom Hanks and John Lovitz, and they're on the corner. They're like they're guy. She doesn't want to talk to me.
That's right. I totally forgot about
And to this day, with John Lovitz, if somebody does something weird or like is extra like out loud or something, I'll be like, acting. I've always done that my whole life. Sometimes I'll get a
That's
laugh.
so funny.
Sometimes people look at me like you're a crazy person.
Yeah, that's so funny.
So, but I've done the acting my whole life. So. Acting. So, all right. Well, now is the time on Recall when we dance. So let's swing back to the 80s and 90s to pump you up and hopefully not get too verklempt as we go into some deep thoughts, Rob, with Saturday Night Live.
Great
I
sax.
pulled that from 91, so I made sure G.E. Smith, that we got his version. Not that it's farther off the other ones, but you're right. Great sax. He had a good horn section in the Saturday Night Live band there. So, well, this week, Rob and I have put our collective heads together and come up with our top 10 favorite SNL performers in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
We're going to take turns going over who we picked. Our top 10 will not be everyone's favorite, but for us, the actors and actresses that made us laugh the most and most memorable to us, so we put them in the order we think they're the best.
Yep.
Some people out there be like, oh, he was better than her was better than him, and that's fine.
Yeah.
We like to spark debate.
That's right.
That's what we're
and
here
I
for.
even, as I was doing my research, I think maybe we got a few wrong.
What?
But that's all right.
Well, we can. How do you think we got a few wrong? I was
feel
happy
like-
with the list as I was redoing
No,
it.
it was good. It was good.
Do you think we omitted one and added one we shouldn't have?
Well, I will tell you the first. Well, we'll talk about the first one.
I have
When we get to the first one,
I have one.
Yeah.
I would say our number 9. I could debate having somebody different in there,
Oh no, that's good.
but that
yeah.
I still thought was funny at the time.
Yeah.
Had some. There's some memories to it.
Yeah.
But when I think at a couple of the other actors as I was looking over some research, I could have maybe had a switch, but I still think they're strong members of the cast.
No, I agree.
Right?
I agree.
So I don't think we can be 100% wrong because there's so many good ones.
Yeah.
But again, our list really are the ones that impacted us the most. So
This is true.
there are going to be some
This is
early
true.
80s and later 90s that didn't make our list because a lot of our list comes from that 87 and 93 window.
Yeah.
There are a couple exceptions, but really that's the crux of our group.
Yep.
That's what we put together.
Well, and so many of the actors that we list here go on to do
They all do.
much bigger things that became prevalent in our lives as well. You
True.
know, so they went on to do movies that became mainstays for what what I thought was funny and things that I quote to this day. So they're all everybody on this list went on to
Some went on a little bigger than others. There are some just home run hitters here. So,
right.
and some of these, when we say them, they're going to be real obvious to anybody who liked Saturday Night Live during this time.
Right.
So it's going to be real simple. So, well, we won't drag this out any longer. We'll get this started with Rob. You can start with our number 10 choice that we put on on the board.
So our number 10 was Norm Macdonald.
Very
and
good.
This is one that I kind of, the more I researched them, and he's one of my favorites on here. I think he's kind of underrated.
I like him.
I think he's super funny. But he was one of the only cast members who survived this. In 95, they had a big purge, big show's purge, and he survived. But he was a featured player, a writer from 93 to 94, became a main player in 94 to 98, did the weekend update from 94 to 97. He actually hosted in 99.
Yep.
And then did a cameo in 2009. Sadly, he died in 2021. But if you ever get a chance, he had a podcast for a little while. It was called Norm Macdonald Live. It is the funniest thing. His humor is totally different. And so if you ever get a chance, and then he had on Netflix, it was called Norm Macdonald Has a Show. Oh my gosh.
And he got
it is
fired.
bizarre.
He got fired from Saturday Night Live.
Yes.
Because he was told not to make certain O.J. Simpson jokes.
And he did it.
And he did it anyway. For like a year and a half, he rode O.J. into the ground.
Yeah.
Like it was it. Like and his delivery and style were so different because he'd be like, "Hey, you know what? You know what doesn't? You know what's not bad? You know what's bad for breakfast? Getting stabbed by O.J. Simpson. Like that would be his joke,
Yes.
and you'd be like, okay.
He did a thing on his podcast where he would just read jokes that just stacks of them, and they were one-liners, and they were so good.
Did you pull any sound? From
No,
Norm
well,
Macdonald?
I've got some sound.
I was gonna say.
Here's my soundbite
So
from Norm Macdonald.
just to prep this real quick, we've got a little soundbite from each of our folks today, so we can kind of give everybody a little remembrance of what their style was like.
And then this is the character that I remember Norm Macdonald the most from SNL.
You will. And finally, back again, Burt Reynolds in a commanding lead with $14.
Hey, check out the podium. Look at this.
Mr. Reynolds has apparently changed his name to Turd Ferguson.
Yeah, that's right. Turd Ferguson. It's a funny name.
It goes on for a little bit. Hold on.
Oh, I know.
Great. Let's take a look at the final board.
I have this memorized.
That category is about French phrases, so let's just skip it.
Hey, I speak a little French. You're an ass bite. Pardon my French.
My name's French.
Yeah, well, who gives a damn?
Moving on. Burt Reynolds.
That's not my name.
Okay. Turd Ferguson.
Yeah, what do you want?
That's my favorite part.
You buzzed in.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, well, that's your opinion.
I hate my job.
Just that whole delivery of, no, I didn't.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, that's your
No,
opinion.
my wife and I, Kurt, you,
Yeah.
to this day, we quote that all the time. Like people, there are still things I'll
I
be
need
like,
one of my fantasy football teams, the Turd
Turd Ferguson. Yeah, I mean, for my whole life, we've said that. And we'll do that, ape tit déjeuner, or what is it? I mean, give me the ape tit thing. That's
right.
what it says.
Yeah,
So,
I'll take that kind of thing.
yeah, that is one of the, I don't care what era it came in. That's one of the greatest sketches. That Jeopardy sketch is one of the greatest sketches of all time. I laugh every time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I like Norm Macdonald on our list. You said you were debating that a little bit.
No, I thought I think he should be higher.
Oh, okay.
No, I think he's underrated.
Oh.
I think his writing, he wasn't overt like a lot of some of, he wasn't Chris Farley and he's running around. But man, his humor was something that I just think his humor was super funny.
No,
It
it's
was
great.
on a level that above a lot of people. So
I think he's good at 10. There's in the bottom 3, 10, 9, 8, when we do 8, 9 here in a second. I think you could have flip-flopped a couple of them, but I think I think we're still paying homage regardless. So, so Norm, our number 10.
There you go.
So I've got number 9. Number 9 is going to be one Dennis Miller.
Yeah.
All right. This being the beginning of my 5th season, I felt it was time to reaffirm my Weekend Update oath. Assisting me in that oath is none other than me. Hello, Dennis.
Me.
Okay, hello, baby.
Hello, baby.
I love this, guys.
All right. Repeat after me. I, Dennis Miller.
I, Captain Hairdo,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear,
to keep a vigilant eye on the social and political leaders of our time in the event that they disappoint us.
to keep an eye on pinheads like Jim and Tammy Faye Baker. What's with
Baker.
these cretins? Let me tell you something, folks. I would sleep with Jim Baker before I'd sleep with Tammy Baker. What's that all about, huh?
That's he's flipping his hair.
Oh, yeah. So, so Dennis Miller, really a Weekend Update guy.
Mm-hmm.
He came on, doing some research. He was a stand-up comedian, and he came on the show just to do Weekend Update.
Yeah,
And he
I
really
did
never
that.
did a lot of other sketches. But Lorne Michaels actually hired him without, or he hired him after 2 auditions. He saw him in L.A., then he brought him to New York. For his New York audition, he had to do his audition in front of the entire staff, plus Paul Simon, Dan Aykroyd, and Lorne Michaels. And then after that, Lorne Michaels took him out to dinner because he already had a dinner date with Jack Nicholson.
Oh, yeah.
And so they went to dinner with Jack and Lorne Michaels, and Dennis Miller said he was just freaking out. He's sitting there, and Jack's like, "So you gonna get the gig or what?" And so he said he said Jack was grilling him, and then Lorne Michaels is like, "So do you want to do Weekend Update?" And he's like, "Yeah, I guess."
Yeah, let's do it,
and that was
baby.
it. So so he got picked up for his gig on
Well, and then,
at dinner with Jack Nicholson and Lorne Michaels.
yeah. And then I remember he did the whole Monday Night Football thing.
Yeah, that was so weird.
It was weird. Such a weird mix.
He made it like 3 seasons, but half the time you didn't know what he was talking about because he had this real unique political humor, and it didn't match.
And when you use big old words and stuff.
Well, and I think Dan Fouts is there too, and Dan Fouts is kind of a meathead.
Yeah.
So he'd be like, say some homage to something, babe, and he'd be like,
What?
and it's a first down, So, but it's funny. So, and then my favorite was he'd do Weekend Update, and then his sign off was, guess what, folks? That's the news, and I am out of here. And
he
he'd
does
write
the
on
scribble on
he'd
the paper.
scribble on the paper and set it out. So,
Yep.
he's done a lot since then. Like he's been in some movies. He had a podcast for a long time. He's done some political stuff, CNBC. But other than Saturday Night Live, I'd say my other favorite thing is when he was in Joe Dirt. He was the DJ that was interviewing Joe Dirt for his thing. And,
Joe Dirt.
Yeah. So he's like, he has a line in there about something like, he goes, "So you're so ingrained with redneck DNA that your facial hair grows in like that?" So it's really funny. So yeah. So Dennis Miller, I think he was really good.
Good pick.
One of the better Weekend Update hosts.
Yeah, I think
for the
when you
show.
think of Weekend Update, he's
Pretty synonymous.
He is Weekend
So,
Update.
but that's 2 Weekend Updaters already.
Yeah.
Norm and
Yeah, yeah,
Dennis.
yeah. Well, number
So,
8 is not a Weekend Update.
He is not.
All right. Number 8 is... It's funny that you said this.
Farewell, Donner Blitzen. Farewell, thou beauteous multitudes of youth who stand before me. the jolly fat man live no more. And why?
Why?
Because he killed me! The manager! Falls the manager! The manager! Dirty tool! I was merely acting!
It's funny you say that whole acting.
Oh, yeah.
Because I do it too.
That's the number one thing I know him for.
If I trip in the house or something, I'll roll and then just stand back up and go, acting?
Yes,
Yeah.
So, to this day.
Yeah.
And he had a lot of good things on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
He did a lot of funny stuff. Hanukkah Harry was kind of funny.
Yeah.
But I will say probably I knew him the best from Saturday Night Live. His funniest thing he may have ever done was when he was in A League of Their Own.
Oh,
and
yeah.
he's that scout. And look, milkmaid's grass. Don't eat it. So, no, but his delivery definitely unique as opposed to the other ones.
Well,
yeah.
And I think what's obvious in that, he was really good.
Yeah, he's
like he was a good actor.
Seems like he was trained.
Yeah, he did the master thespian as
Yeah,
with
he
his
is.
character.
Yeah.
He was one. He did he was good. He was a good actor. And I think some of these people are actually very trained.
I think a lot of them are trained.
Yeah.
Some just wound up in like improv groups, but some of them you go and look and they got like they went to a university for acting and drama and all those kinds of things.
He was on there 85 to 90.
Oh yeah.
He started. He was in The Critic. He had a TV show, League of Their Own.
Yeah.
And 20 seasons on The Simpsons.
Oh yeah.
I had forgotten that
That's
he
good.
had lots of voice on The Simpsons.
So
So
a
John
good chunk
Lovitz.
of it. Yeah,
John Lovitz,
I like the
for I
John
did not
Lovitz.
say his name.
That's a good one. All right, number 7. One of my these are all my favorites, but one of my I guess I would say slept on favorites. Not everybody I think goes to him right away, but he was I think he was a big part of the show.
Yeah.
So and that's Kevin Nealon.
Welcome, we're back. All right. Once again, I am Hans. Yeah, and I am Franz, and we are here to pop you off. Let me tell you something. Many of you are wondering where have we been.
Yeah, that's right. We spent most of the summer in the movie theaters intensely screening the year's most important cultural event.
Terminator 2. Yeah, that's right. Starring the world's most popular movie star.
Yeah, who just happens to be our cousin. Perhaps you've heard of him.
Arnold Schwarzenegger. All right.
That's right.
All right, after crossing the movie industry, cousin Arnold.
Oh yeah, so Kevin Nealon. So what I said about just like Dennis Miller, at one point he's the Weekend Updateos. Actually took over for Dennis Miller when he left the show in 1993. But Nealon to me was one of those glue guys.
Yeah,
like he can be in any sketch. He doesn't have to. He doesn't have to be the star of the sketch, but he's perfect to balance all the sketches out.
Yeah,
kind of like a Phil Hartman or. You could even say a Will Ferrell at times, although Will Ferrell more he stood out. But Kevin Nealon, he's one of those, he could be a dad. He could be a reporter. He didn't do a lot of impersonations and stuff, but he could do those. Another good one, he did a reporter a lot. Another good one, I almost pulled the sound for, was when they did the all drug Olympics and the dude pulls his arms off when he's doing the deadlift because he's doing the thing on that.
I forgot about that.
So,
that's right.
But Hans and Franz, and then it was really tough. I love his Mr. Subliminal.
Yeah.
When he did that on Weekend Updates. So the Mr. Subliminal is real good. And of course, he was in that sketch. And I looked for it, and I could not find it. Where they were in the elevator, and they kept doing the back in time thing.
I know that's
so
what I think
from
about,
that, and got to go back in time.
Well,
so.
and even like when he was in movies, his character would always be like these really small roles, but they were funny. Like I think about like in Happy Gilmore, where he's going circular. It's circular, and
well, he was on the show from '86 to '95, and when he left the show, at the time he was the longest tenured. Member of the cast. Now he's since been passed by Tim Meadows, Daryl Hammond, and Kenan Thompson. Kenan Thompson's been on now for like 25 years. But point is he was for a long time, and he was that glue guy. So, but how he got on the show was Dana Carvey knew him real well. They were friends in California. Dana Carvey got the show, and then Dana Carvey told Lorne Michaels, "You need to hire this guy. He needs to come on out." And he hired him, and that was it. He brought him on out. So.
I just always liked this deadpan delivery.
He's perfect.
He wasn't over the top. Everything was really calm
and again, he was a great like I said, he's the glue guy because sometimes those sketches you need a straight man or you need that other part to assist everyone else around him. And he'd play a dad, he'd play a reporter, he'd play a best friend, he'd do all these. but he was still funny. Like he
Yeah.
was subtly funny all the time. So,
Yeah.
and he's gone on to do a bunch of great shows, great things, and I like Kevin Nealon.
Yeah.
So yeah, Happy Gilmore, he's great. Circle.
Circular.
Gotta go. So, but by the way, he was also on a TV show on Showtime called Weeds.
Oh,
and he
yeah.
was nominated for a Screen Actors Guild Award in
I
that,
read
that
that,
show.
and
So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, but he lost that Screen Actors Guild Award to fellow SNL alum Tina Fey for 30 Rock.
Oh, yeah.
So SNL everywhere.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
So
What are we at? Number 6.
we're at number 6. Oh,
number 6 is
starting to
huge.
starting to get in some royalty at
Yeah,
this
yeah.
point.
So number 6,
Adam Sandler. There you go.
Yes, it's Kitty Metal from Guns N' Roses. You'll get 20 head-banging, bone-crunching tunes that children love to sing.
The last one's my favorite.
Just plain fun.
It's always
There's action
everyone's
and slash
favorite.
tear through this old favorite.
Jimmy Crack Corn is the best part.
Yeah, that's the one everyone remembers the most. So
Anyway,
I'm so
was
happy you pulled that sound. So just for everyone listening, I don't know what sound bites you pulled. So
Yeah.
I'm hearing
Yeah.
what you chose
Yeah.
for the first time. That you and I laughed at that forever. That's been one of our favorites. Now, most people on most podcasts, if you do an Adam Sandler, you're probably going to get the Thanksgiving song or the Hanukkah song or some of those. Or he did his Cajun Man on Weekend
Cajun
Update.
Man.
But we went
Opera
to
Man.
Opera Man, another big one for him.
Yeah.
We go to the Kitty Metal, his not terrible Guns N' Roses Axl Rose impression. So
and
I've laughed
my
at
favorite
that
part
one.
is the very end where he goes, and I don't
yeah,
care."
he gets in that
So
kid's face.
anytime I hear that song, we get to I always think of sing. I want to finish it that way. So anyway, this is Adam Sandler. Gosh, the guy has 3 Grammy Awards, 5 Primetime Emmy Awards, a Golden Globe Award. He was nominated for all those. And he's got a Screen Actors Guild Award. He was on there from 90 to 95. He's worth like $2 million. He went on to star in Hollywood films that grossed over $2 million altogether.
$2 million?
Yeah.
That doesn't seem like very much.
I don't know. You want
if I add up all his films, he's made more than $2 million.
He has a net worth of $420 million.
There you go.
Yeah. And he signed a 4-movie deal with Netflix worth $250 million.
Oh,
So he's
yeah.
doing, and we could go through all the movies he's been in. Billy Madison.
Everybody
Happy
knows.
Gilmore.
Yeah.
He was performing on stage. Dennis Miller caught his act, recommended him to Lorne Michaels, and then the rest is history.
Well, of course.
Made his first on-screen appearance in 90, became an official featured player in 91, and then a full-fledged member from 93 to 94.
Well, was on TV prior to 90, though. He made several appearances on The Cosby Show as Theo's friend. He was like 17 or 18 years old. He was on that show.
Yeah.
And then he made appearances where he was a little wacky on that MTV show Remote Control.
Oh,
So he
yes.
popped into that
That's
a little bit
right.
before. And then, of course, he was doing stand-up comedy. I had his album. It was
I
called
still have it.
They're All
Yeah.
Gonna Laugh at
Yeah.
You.
Yeah.
And there's a song on there about him beating up a goat. And to this day, I'll say that thing. He's like, put up your dukes. I got no dukes.
Well, the one that's naughty on there is the Do It For Your Mom. or
I know.
whatever. Yeah.
Well,
And so, like,
there's the
my
one
wife
about-
every now and then will go, please, like, she'll ask my kids, can you take the garbage out? And they'll, and she'll go, do it for your mom.
She's
and I'm
not
like,
using
don't
that
do
right.
that.
Yep.
Don't do that. Because in my head, do it for your mom.
The dirty song of that is that it's called Medium Pace. Where he's, that's a rough
Yeah.
song,
Yeah.
but funny at the time. So
No, the things I listed were Zagat's. We talked about Kitty Metal, Opera
yeah.
Man, Cajun Man, Canteen Boy. It was a good one.
Canteen Boy, a good one, but go back and watch it now, and you're like, it's. I guess it's a little cringy now
it is,
because
yeah.
what is he? Alec Baldwin's got his shirt open.
He's like, oh my god. The Herlihy Boys one is one I forgot, where he's like the movie company.
Oh,
He's
that's
like,
right. Yeah.
Let us move your stuff. You know.
Well, if you
It's-
want to
it's-
do an ensemble
Gap
Adam
girls.
Sandler, if you want to do an ensemble Adam Sandler, and it's everybody in this sketch, one of our favorite sketches, which is where Kirstie Alley's on a date with Kevin Nealon. And they go to that
I tried to
Italian.
find it and I
can't
couldn't find
it.
it.
I know I couldn't find it
find
anywhere.
the clip.
But they go
I
to
know
the
what
Italian.
it's called, and I looked for it, and I couldn't find it.
They go to the Italian restaurant and they do the bellissimo.
Bellissimo.
And when he comes out, he's got nothing on but like a leaf or something. It's insane. And he looks down her shirt.
What you know
and-
like?
What's he know like? What is he? You know like?
Oh, it gets.
Oh, you lie.
Yeah, you lie. Oh my gosh.
Oh, anniversary. I still say that. I'll say it to my wife
That's where I say
all
that
the
as well.
time.
Anniversary.
Yeah. So, all right. Adam Sandler, obviously, just one of the best for us on the
Yeah.
show. Maybe not everyone's cup of tea. There were people that just don't like Adam Sandler as much, but I always found him funny. And if you put him and our number 5 together, which again we're in the rarefied air now for us, and so our number 5, one Chris Farley.
All right, how's everybody? Good. Now, as your father probably told you, my name is Matt Foley, and I am a motivational speaker. Now, let's get started by letting me give you a little bit of a scenario of what my life is all about. First off, I am 35 years old, I am divorced, and I live in a van down by the river. Now, you kids are probably saying to yourselves, hey, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna get the world by the tail and wrap it around and pull it down and put it in my pocket. Well, I'm here to tell you that you're probably gonna find out as you go out there that you're not going to amount to jack squat. You're gonna end up eating.
This is one of my all-time favorite sketches. I just subtle things in there where he goes, he says he wants to be a writer, and he goes, "Hey, I can't see too good, Dad. Is that Bill Shakespeare over there?"
Well, I like.
I mean, it's just.
I like when he switches his attention to Dad.
Oh yeah.
And Dad goes, "What do you think about that, Dad?" And he goes, "Well,
we
Matt,
encourage his
and he
writing."
goes, Dad, would you shut your yapper?
Well, and he tells him at the end, he goes, "I don't give a crap. I'm moving in. I'm tired of living in a van down by the river.
We're gonna be buddies.
Gonna be pals." All right, so this is Chris Farley. Obviously, as we said, one of my favorites of all time. Again, not everyone's favorite. My wife, not a big fan of Chris Farley.
Really?
Just kinds of think he's a one note. I don't think he's a one note guy.
Yeah.
I know he's loud and a little obnoxious times, but I think there's other times he does things really well. So, and like the Chippendales sketch. Like he's really athletic in that. I mean, he's doing the same dance moves. You know what I love the most about that Chippendale sketch is the fact that they make it seem like the three of them are pondering, like, "Oh, this is tough." It's not tough.
That is really good.
That's what sells that. But Chip, there were so many to choose from. I went with Matt Foley, but you got the Chippendales. The Bears. He was great on the Bears. He's always having. I'm having a heart attack.
He's a super fan.
The super fans. One of the mall girls where he says, "Lay off me, I'm starving."
We still say that
every time.
Yeah.
Anytime I'm
if
talking.
If I'm hangry or hungry, lay off me. I'm starving.
The El Nino sketch where he says it's Spanish for the Nino. The hidden camera coffee one is insane. Where they film him a hidden camera and he goes, "What?" And then he beats everybody up in the place. I think that's priceless. So
the one where he's the kid going to the baseball game.
Oh yeah,
where
really
the
good.
dad takes-
He's Cuomo's kid.
That's right.
Yeah,
He's got the buck teeth. It's so bad.
Chris Farley talk show where he gets someone on and go, "That was really cool," because he's all nervous.
Remember that? Remember that time? Remember that time?
And then the Bennett Brower where I make babies cry, or
That's true. Oh my god!
And he had some really funny parts. He went on, obviously, Tommy Boy, one of the '90s for us, '90s comedy gold. But he was in Billy Madison. Yeah. I think in Billy Madison, him as the school bus driver is one of the funniest things in that movie. Airheads, he was really funny as a security guard. He was in Wayne's World as a security guard. He did a couple other roles, but sadly, Chris Farley passed away in 1997. And passed away drug overdose. Yeah. Belushi drug overdose.
Yeah.
Belushi 33 years old when he died. Farley 33 years old when he died. So unfortunately, but at his funeral, over 500 people attended Chris Farley's funeral. So obviously he was still really popular. Everybody really liked him. In 2005, they gave him a posthumously, gave him a Hollywood Walk of Fame star. So he's on that. But yeah, Chris Farley, still one of my, I'll never not laugh at the Matt Foley thing.
No.
And to me, he's still funny. So
I found a note that said the character's debut performance, Matt Foley, was that was in 1983, has been called one of the best segments in SNL history.
It is.
A lot of people that feel it is the best.
It's hilarious. And obviously most people know by now, but he falls through that table. He wasn't supposed to fall through that
You can
table.
see
He
the
tripped.
reactions.
And when he stands up, all four of them sit forward because Phil Hartman and David Spade both later were like, we were sure he was dead. And then he
Here's
stands
you,
up
here's me.
and you see his face and he goes, whoops-a-daisy. So yeah, he really broke that coffee table. So
whoopsie.
yep.
Oh
So,
my gosh.
all right.
That's
Well, we'll go from Chris Farley to our number 4 favorite actor, one of the best,
Phil Hartman.
Phil Hartman.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm just a caveman. I fell in some ice and later got thawed out by some of your scientists. Your world frightens and confuses me. Sometimes the honking horns of your traffic make me want to get out of my BMW and run off into the hills or whatever. Sometimes when I get a message on my fax machine, I wonder, did little demons get inside and type it? I don't know. My primitive mind can't grasp these concepts.
So, look, I said it about the last like 3 of them. This is maybe my favorite sketch of all time. I've never not laughed at it. I think about it, it makes me laugh. When I want to be at the table. When Phil Hartman, whatever writer, were like, we got an idea. Unfrozen Chamberlain Lawyer. And they're like, what? It's gold. Like, it's so good.
And the way he sells it, because he's also one that there's like he's like a classically trained actor. I don't know if he really was, but he can act. He's a good actor, you know.
He's so good.
And but just the way that whole idea of like it frightens and scares me. I'll do that like
I know.
loading the dishwasher.
To this day,
I don't know how to do it.
It
frightens and scares.
We might have him too low. 4 might be low, but Phil Hartman, I think one of the best.
Yeah, just from a talent standpoint,
So
I think
good.
he's but he was often believed to be one of the best, if not the best SNL ever had. He was on the show for 8 seasons and played a total of 20 different recurring characters. He retired from SNL in '94 to go do acting stuff. Matt Groening elected to retire all of the characters in The Simpsons instead of recasting them out of respect for Hartman when he died.
Oh, yeah.
And so that was, but yeah, I put down Unfrozen Caveman Lawyer, Colon Blow, and Frankenstein on the Thanksgiving
I
greetings.
love those so much. Firebird.
Well, and then on the one, he can't think of any, it's his turn to say something. And so then Tonto whispers in his ear, and all he says is he goes, bread. And then he's just, I don't know why it's so funny.
I will say, too, his,
Daryl
Hammond's kind of famous for it now, but his early Bill Clinton is really good.
yeah.
Like when they jog into McDonald's and they're like, Mrs. Clinton's not going to like you coming to McDonald's. He's like, there's a whole bunch of things we're not going to be telling Mrs. Clinton.
He's in his little jogging suit.
Oh, yeah. And they're like, sir, we've only been jogging for 3 minutes. No, I just want to talk to the people. And then he eats all their food. So it was really good. And he used to do a really good Frank Sinatra.
Oh, yeah.
When,
Yes.
he had Sinead O'Connor on. She said something. He goes, whatever, cue ball, or something like that. I mean, it's just...
Oh, that's
no, he was great. He's one of the best. Like, there's nothing he couldn't do. Again, a glue guy. You could put him in any sketch. He could do impersonations. He did his own characters too. On Frozen Caveman Lawyer, and he was just
did
so good.
most of the commercials. He did, the fake commercials.
Well, he had that
did most of
voice.
those. Yeah, it was.
I think the 2 best voices in SNL history: Phil Hartman and Chris Parnell. Chris Parnell has this radio something voice, and it's just really unique.
And then what was the show? Was it not News Radio?
News Radio.
Yeah,
really good on that show
so
too.
Funny,
So funny,
like, super underrated show.
Oh yeah,
but anyway, he was really good on that show. But anyway,
and he's really good in a movie we're going to cover later this year, Christmas. Little Jingle All the Way.
Oh, boy.
But we'll talk about that then.
All right.
So that takes us to our number 3.
Number 3.
Another one of the big timers, Mike Myers.
Before I begin, would you like to touch my monkey?
I would be honored.
Touch him! Love him! Leave him meine Abschminky! Now I am as happy
as a little girl.
All right, so
Also something
again,
I say often.
Again, I could have pulled the sound bites for a lot of things for Mike Myers, but I just remember you and I used to laugh at Sprockets a lot because it was so
It was weird.
different than everything else. Look, at 13, 14 years old, I didn't really know anything about German people other than World War II Germany, right? I didn't know anything else.
No.
And he made them seem so weird and crazy. And it comes to find they're normal like us. But he did this extreme, I don't even know what it was. And they talk about crazy things on there. But just that whole character, Dieter, doing Sprockets. Now is the time on Sprockets when we dance. And then they would play that weird music. It's all industrial. And he's wearing that like one piece turtleneck thing.
It wasn't leather.
And his hair's all slicked back. So, all right. So one of the most memorable castmates from our childhood and probably from all time. Huge during the era. He joined in '89, instantly became one of the biggest draws on the show. Had some all-time characters: Wayne's World, Sprockets, Linda Richmond on Coffee Talk.
I know. I put that down.
You got
Coffee
that?
Talk. We're talking about daughters and dogs.
You and I used to laugh a lot at Simon. Are you looking at my bum?
You
We used to
cheeky
do
monkey.
the drawings.
Cheeky monkey.
Lothar of the Hill People. He did Middle-Aged Man with his friend Drinking Buddy. And he had the Bears. Obviously, he was also a super fan. So, and the Scottish Store. If it's not Scottish, it's crap.
I also like Philip the Hyper Hypo.
Philip the Hyper Hypo.
I'm Hyper Hypo, you know.
He pulls an entire thing. So I will say with a few exceptions, Myers, not a big improver ensemble cast guy. Like when he's in a sketch, he's like the lead of the sketch.
Yeah.
It's not often he's a background like support player. And he didn't do a lot of impersonations. It was just all his own characters.
Yeah.
If he was in a sketch, you know, that's his sketch. Like Wayne's World is his sketch. Sprockets is, and he would have the primetime slots. But he didn't do a lot of, he didn't do a massive head wound Harry.
No.
That wasn't his. Middle-Aged Man was probably the closest thing to just a weird sketch for him where he did that. So, but obviously he went on to be amazing, right? So Wayne's World. Look at these three franchises.
Yeah.
You got Wayne's World, you got Austin Powers, and you got Shrek. So he could live off those three for the rest of his life.
He's
so,
done. Yeah.
And I will say still to this day, one of his most underrated movies, his first movie, So I Married an Axe Murderer.
Oh,
I love that movie.
super fun.
So good to this day.
Did you ever catch the Pentaveret?
Oh, yeah, it's rough.
It was rough.
I didn't like that. So,
It was not good.
I did see he was quoted in an interview when talking about SNL. He said, I wanted to be on that show since I was 11 years old. So I wear having done it as a badge of honor. So, fun fact, Myers did not audition for SNL. He was seen doing his show in Canada by Martin Short, an SNL producer and comedian Dave Foley of another show of ours, Kids in the Hall. They told Lauren, hire him today, and he called him and hired him. So Mike Myers, one of the few, didn't audition for Lauren. He just got the job from a phone call. Yeah. So because he said he trusted Martin Short and Dave Foley and that SNL's producers' judgment so much, he just hired him. So one of the better things he did.
I read that he won a Primetime Emmy Award.
He did.
For outstanding writing.
Often, if you go look at those, those SNL, there'll be like 20 writers in that group,
true.
and they all got an award. It'd be like Robert Schmeigel, it'd be Mike Myers. They'll all be included. So. All right, so Mike Myers, one of the best.
Yeah, he's
so
funny.
What are you gonna do? That takes us to
number 2.
And I gave you this number 2. This one,
right, number 2.
This is you.
Yep. I went easy on this one.
Yeah, you did. Well, there's so many to go easy with.
No, that it doesn't work for me. I gotta have more cowbell. Don't blow this for us, Gene. Quit being so selfish, Gene.
Can I just say one thing?
Say it, baby, just say it.
I'm staring at rock legend Bruce Dickinson.
The cock and the walk, baby.
And if Bruce Dickinson wants more cowbell, we should probably give him more cowbell.
Hey, baby.
And Bobby, you are right. I am being selfish. But the last time I checked, we don't have a whole lot of songs that feature the cowbell.
I gotta have more cowbell, baby.
I'd be doing myself a disservice and every member of this band if I didn't perform the hell out of this.
Guess what? I got a fever. And the only prescription is more cowbell.
Thank you, Bruce.
I
think if I just leave and maybe I'll come back later.
There's an argument. We have him at 2. There's an argument he could be the greatest SNL performer of all time. If you really think about memorable characters, memorable moments. I mean, I cannot not list. I mean, the Alex Trebek, the Harry Careys, it goes on forever. And just the Robert Goulet. I mean, the amount of, he did the cheerleaders, he did the stupid sketch where they're at the Wellesley Arms Hotel. I mean, it could go on forever.
So
there's no stopping. There's a dumb sketch where they have a girl, one of the female actors gives birth, and he comes out, and they're like, "Oh my god!" And he goes, "Oh, it's hot in there." I don't know. Those are just dumb.
Yeah. So this is Will Ferrell, considered to be a member of the frat pack. It was a generation of leading Hollywood comic actors who emerged in the late '90s and 2000s, like Jack Black, Ben Stiller, Steve Carell, Vince Vaughn, Paul Rudd, Owen, and Luke Wilson. He founded the comedy website Funny or Die, which is going to do its own thing. Elf, Anchorman, Kicking and Screaming, Talladega Nights, Blades of Glory, all the things, right?
Oh, yeah.
Sketches that I liked him in, Roger and Virginia Clarvin, that's the lava in the hot tub.
The Wellesley Arms Hotel.
I can feel it in my loins. Goulet, Spartan, the Spartan cheerleaders, Marty and Bobby and Mohan Culp.
Very good.
I love that one. Hot Mike, more cowbell, Tight Pants, Harry Carey. We've quoted that guy a ton. Alex Trebek. There's a couple too that are a little less known, but he's at Jeffrey's. It's the clothing store.
Oh yeah, I love that one.
Sean Hayes, and he's got his little cell phone, and they try to come in the little cart. And
Are you ready to go to Milan?
And then Gus Chiggins, the old prospector.
Oh, that's a good one too.
He was so funny as Gus Chiggins.
We're forgetting the one main sketch where it's 4th of July. And he's showing his pride for America, and he pulls those boxer shorts
with the Speedos.
And to this day, Amy Poehler on a podcast said, she's like, he didn't tell anyone he was doing that. So she goes, the first time he turns around, her and Rachel Dratch, they're just like, oh my god,
and he gets right in there.
It's all the way in there. Like he's not shy at all. So
and I've seen video of him doing his audition tape for SNL, and he's a cat.
Oh yeah,
playing with the toy. That's all it is him down on the floor, and he's playing like a cat with the little.
I heard him on a podcast, and I would pay anything to have seen this. But when he was in college, he was in an acting troupe, and they would do Shakespeare, and the whole group is doing Shakespeare. So you go see Hamlet, everyone's doing Shakespeare. He's doing Shakespeare, but he does it the whole thing in the Harry Carey voice. I would have paid anything to see that. He said people would be rolling in the because he's given, "Hey, wherefore art thou?" Now, I mean, it would be insane to see that. Like, I couldn't even. I wouldn't handle myself. It would be too funny.
The other night we were watching a trailer for a Will Ferrell movie that's coming out. It looks rather interesting, actually. But anyway, in the trailer, Will Ferrell says something, and my daughter goes, "That's you," and I was like, "Yeah," because I want to be Will Ferrell. I want to be that funny.
Well, he's been in
the way he delivers things is so.
It's not even that.
He's probably my favorite.
He is, but he's been in some of the most quotable movies of our lifetime. Let's go Frank the Tank from old school. You've got again Ron Burgundy. Yeah. You've got Ricky Bobby. You could go down the list, and he's got quotable. Like people still Step Brothers. People quote all these things that he's done to this day. So, he's number 2. We might pay for that one later, but I think we're okay. All right. Well, before we reveal our number 1 performer, it's time to go to a little place we like to call the Cut Line. Well, as you heard while we've been chopping it up, when developing this list, Rob and I found it difficult to do just a top 10. So for this segment, we've got 2 cuts that just missed the top 10, still really strong performers, and an honorable mention, which I think people they're listening to this list at this point. They're probably like, I feel like someone's missing. And you're going to find out here in a second that, you're going to find out why he's missing. But we are going to talk about our honorable mention and our 2 cuts. But our first cut, I think a pretty rather underrated or sometimes forgotten about, who I think was a great cast member. Yeah. And that is Molly Shannon.
Yep.
Mary Catherine. Yes, right. I think I have it now. Attention.
Mary Catherine Gallagher. That's me.
Right. I think I've got it now. Okay, everyone, could we have some attention, please, for Mary Catherine
Gallagher.
What's wrong? Where are you?
I feel shy.
Come out here. Come out.
Okay.
Do you want to audition or what?
Yeah.
You do?
Sometimes when I get nervous,
yes,
I stick my hands under my arms and then I smell my fingers like that. That's gross.
That's gross.
Well,
That's gross.
well, that's very
It's gross.
interesting,
That's
Mary
gross.
Catherine. Yes. Yes.
Does it smell so bad?
Yes. And that's very interesting, yes.
I think that's gross. Okay.
That's gross.
Well, I put here versatile cast member. She's always funny. Joined the cast mid-season '95. She replaced Janine Garofalo, who left the show because she said it was too much of a boys' club, too many poop and fart jokes and stuff like that. That's what she said. So, but then she was part of that purge you talked about, Norm Macdonald. She survived the purge as well, so she stayed around. I put memorable characters. You got Mary Catherine Gallagher. We just heard that sample. Sally O'Malley, who my wife has always loved, who's 50. She says, I like to kick, stretch, and kick. I'm 50. So that, and then she's in, I've said this 5 times today. She's in one of my top 5 sketches of all time. She's in the Sweaty Balls as the NPR host with, I believe, Anna Gasteyer, and they are just, that is one of the most perfect sketches you can ever watch. We're not featuring it today, but that's it. And I did also like in the 90s, she was playing Monica Lewinsky during the whole scandal, and she would wear that beret. And then like they had one episode where Will Ferrell's on, and it's he's doing Bill Clinton, and then Will Ferrell's like Saddam Hussein, and Monica's talking to him. She goes, "Monica, you never call anymore." It's just it's so stupid, but it's hilarious.
One of the ones that I like is a dog show.
Oh, dog show's fantastic.
Even if we're out in public and the dun 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 dog show.
I almost pulled
I will
sound.
say dog show.
Yeah, I almost pulled sound for dog show.
I did it with my kids the other day, and they went, "What dog show?" And I was like, "Oh, we were at a high school volleyball game. And we're doing that tune."
So good.
And I'd say, "Dog show." And my kids would go, "What does that mean?"
Mr. Rocky Balboa.
Mr. Bojangles.
So
the other
she
thing
did
is her monologue that she did. My favorite monologue she did as Mary Catherine Gallagher is when she did the Long Island.
Oh yeah, Lolita.
Like,
The Amy.
You little whore. Anyway.
She had quite a. I saw this interview she did on the Tonight Show, and this is just the last thing. But she said she had done an impersonation, or she had done several times impersonation of Courtney Love. Courtney Love's on the show for the musical guest, and was looking for Molly backstage, pissed because she did not like the impersonation. So she ran into her, and she was dressed like Courtney Love. And Courtney Love's like, "What the hell is going on here?" And she said, "Well, I'm doing this sketch tonight." Anyway, she said they spent 10 minutes like smoking cigarettes and talking, and then all of a sudden she convinced her that it's flattering, and now Courtney Love loves the impersonation, thinks it's great.
Man,
so,
if you can convince Courtney Love, you're
doing pretty good.
You're doing pretty good.
So yeah, she did a lot of stuff though. I mean, she was on an episode of Seinfeld.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's the episode where she doesn't swing her arms. She was on an episode of Twin Peaks. She did a couple episodes of In Living Color. She's been in a lot of movies. Night at the Roxbury, Never Been Kissed, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Yeah. And then she's just been acting on and off. And she's only the second female. In 2007, she was only the second female at that time to host as a prior cast member to host Saturday Night Live. It was her, and then before that had Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
One of my favorite things she does is her cameo in the Santa Claus, where she's
it's really good. Yeah.
She's like,
Santa Claus
spray on the flocking, hang him some stockings.
She goes crazy in that whole set.
I love that scene.
All
It's
right.
probably the best scene in the movie.
It is.
But anyway.
All right, you have our second cut.
Number 2 is?
Well, you know, I know that they always say that you should
Of
not
course
dip
you
your
did.
wang in the company ink.
And you got Wang in there.
But, you know, I think that people should feel free to dip their wangs into anything around the office. You know, whiteout, coffee, a box of paper clips, it do not matter.
It do not
Does not
matter.
No, my favorite ladies man sketch. This is Tim Meadows.
Yeah.
My favorite ladies man sketch is they're reenacting the White House thing.
Oh.
And he's Bill Clinton. And she goes, "Bill, I brought you some pizza." He goes, "I hope it's a pizza ass." I will still say that when we say pizza to
I
this
tried
day.
to find it. I couldn't find it.
No, I couldn't find it either.
I tried.
Because I was going to recommend that one to you, and I couldn't find the
couldn't
clip.
find it. So this is Meadows, one of the longest running cast members of all time. He appeared on 10 seasons, 91 to 2000. He was one of the only 5 cast members who survived the purge again.
Oh, yeah.
I found this quote. One of Meadows' gags on Weekend Update would be to appear as a character or as himself playing on something not obvious. He once commented on his displeasure with the 1994 NHL lockout through quoting hockey statistics and asking, "What's a brother to do? Watch basketball?" Another time, Meadows introduced SNL with all the cast and their catch characters. So, for example, Phil Hartman was Frankenstein. Mike Myers was Wayne. In a spoof of We Are the World, promoting racial reconciliation in light of the 92 Los Angeles riots. Meadows said he had been chosen as one of the MCs because of an obvious issue, quote, namely, I do not have a catch character. So I struggled to find a character for him, and then that was before Leon Phelps.
Correct.
And so he kind of rode that. That was kind of his thing is I don't have a character.
Well, before that, he was an ensemble guy.
Yeah.
But he was another glue guy where you could plug him into any sketch. He was a part of the sketch. So
yeah, featured player 91 93, 93 to 2000. He was a repertory player. He was a special guest in 2000, and he had a cameo in 2005. So he's actually never hosted.
Oh, interesting.
I thought he'd hosted, but he has not.
Tim Meadows, really good.
Tim Meadows, yeah. So cut number 2.
That takes us to our honorable mention,
Okay.
which is probably where we're in the list where people are like, I haven't heard this name.
Yeah.
And you're going to be like, honorable mention. Well, here it is. He's pretty much SNL royalty, Eddie Murphy.
This is one of my favorites.
This might be my favorite. I never not laugh crazy at this.
There's too much to put on this clip, so I...
Yeah, no.
I like this breakdown at the end here.
Oh, it's so good. He starts laughing.
Well.
Oh.
My favorite part is after that, he gets in the hot tub.
He does. He goes,
and it's
"Ooh, too hot in the hot tub." Yeah, it's so good. Well, because it's Eddie, even though he's an honorable mention, we actually pulled a second sound clip for him, which might be better than the first one, but it's pretty good.
Buckwheat sings a song that's eternally his.
It died, dead it diver, dead on the died, it died.
That whole buckwheat sketch.
I think I probably quoted that.
Wookin' Panub.
Yeah. I probably quoted that buckwheat thing more
that.
than...
yeah. He did the Unz, Tice, Fee Times a Mayday.
Fee Times a Mayday. Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, so Eddie Murphy. Honorable mention, and we're going to explain why he's an honorable mention. He should be probably number 1.
Yeah.
But staying true to how we rank things, we didn't watch him on SNL. You and I did not. We were too young. He was on there in the early 80s. We were too little. We didn't even know what SNL was. When we caught
his last show was 84.
Correct. So. We knew him from Beverly Hills Cop. We knew him from Coming to America. But honestly, for a long time, I didn't even know he'd been on Saturday Night Live. Now, how we saw him, because I remember this, in the early 90s, I forget when it was, they did an NBC special, and it was a 2-hour best of Eddie Murphy, and we watched that. And that's the first time I'd seen any of these clips, the buckwheat, the hot tub, the Velvet Jones, How to Be a Hoe. You know, he did that one. The Gumby. Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood. He does one sketch where he dresses up like a white guy and goes around New York, and he's like, he goes to buy a paper and he goes, take it, just take it. And he goes, if you're white, they just give you things. You know, it's insane. But he does so many, and his impression of Stevie Wonder. He's taking photos of people playing tennis, and it's like the ground. It's just, it's insane. But let's see, easily one of the funniest I've ever seen on SNL. I remember after that special, we quoted that, particularly the buckwheat stuff, for weeks. And not just you and me. I went to school and people were singing Wookin' Panub. I mean, it was insane. So, in fact, that's a great one. I remember we were in weight training, and Coach Buckles heard a couple of us doing the impression. And he's like, what are you guys talking about? And we're like, oh, it's Eddie Murphy. He used to be on Saturday Night Live. He goes, yeah, I know. And he goes, I watched it. And we're like, yeah, you're old. I mean, when are you going to... He goes, I could have told you he was on there. So, but we're paying our homage to him.
Yeah.
You could say he's a number 1. But the reason we don't have him at number 1 and we have an honorable mention is because we didn't watch him on Saturday Night Live.
No.
The only thing we had were the best ofs. Now, had we ever watched him on Saturday Night Live, he'd easily be number 1.
Absolutely.
But he is one of the funniest of all time.
I had, you listed them all. Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood, Hot Tub, Gumby, Frank Sinatra, and Stevie Wonder. The whole, Ivory and...
Ebony and Ivory.
What does he say? He goes...
you are black and I am white.
And I've...
you are blind as a bat.
And I have sight. Yeah. And then buckwheat. So all the things that we talked about.
The buckwheat. I will hot tub and buckwheat. I will laugh at the rest of my life. That is some of the funniest stuff I've ever listened to.
Yeah.
So just buckwheat singing anything was just amazing. So, all right. Well, that takes us to our number 1, who, by the way, a great number 1.
Yeah.
There's a lady high
if I didn't know her, she'd be the lady I didn't know. Cold as ice.
And I do the whole thing. I'm telling you, it's worth it.
Oh, the whole thing.
Oh, no.
Do we have time for that?
She went downtown. She bought some broccoli. She brought it home. She's chopping broccoli. Chopping broccoli.
I don't know why this is so funny.
Why at 12, 13, 14 did we lost our mind to this? We used to do it all the time. The part where he goes, brah. Yeah.
Chopping broccoli.
You know, the underrated part of that sketch is Sigourney Weaver and Phil Hartman looking off like this is the best thing they'd ever heard in their life. Like they have this look on their face like, wow, this is
actually,
pure gold.
That sound bite I took, I mean, he's played it a bunch of places, but that was actually from his SNL audition.
Oh, yeah. Because he did that for the audition.
Yeah.
They say, I read a thing that's, as soon as they saw that, they're like, you're out, you're done, you're in. So
good.
All right, so this is Dana Carvey.
Dana Carvey, yeah. Best
oh,
known
my
for
goodness.
7 seasons, 86 to 93. He joined at the same time with Hartman, Kevin Nealon, Jan Hooks, Victoria Jackson, and he helped to reverse the show's declining popularity and made SNL must-see again.
Oh, my goodness.
He became so associated with the church chat character that later cast members like Chris Farley just called him the lady. Actually, that was his nickname. So you've got Church Lady, Massive Head Wound Harry. He was George Bush for a long time. Grumpy Old Man.
Not gonna do it.
Not gonna do that. Even now. I still do that now. The Grumpy Old Man, which he does a version of that in his stand-up.
He does.
Where he goes, Mega Tor, Mega 2, Mega T. Every time. Anyway.
Oh, that's good.
Garth.
Yep.
Hans, Johnny Carson.
His Johnny Carson.
Yeah.
We've not spent our whole life doing that, Johnny Carson.
Yeah. Casey Kasem, which I knew you
It's
did,
really good. Yeah.
He did a version, is the Pepper Boy. Do you remember?
Oh, yeah, the Pepper Boy is great.
And then his Ross Perot was
untouchable. Can I finish? Can I finish?
Yeah, can I finish?
Now I'm finished.
You gonna listen? Now listen.
I got a plan. I'm gonna pay everybody $1 billion. No, his George Bush, because he got to do that for George Bush. Like it's such a parody, but at the same time, it's so good. And then that Johnny Carson. You and I have done Johnny Carson our whole life. That is weird, wild stuff. So, and then he does that that one. It's a Wonderful Life, but they do the alternate ending. Mr. Potter.
Well, on his stand-up too, he does the whole thing with Jimmy. What's his name?
Jimmy Fallon?
No, the actor. Well,
Oh, Jimmy Stewart.
He does Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah.
He does it a whole
so good.
a naughty. Oh yeah.
So bad.
Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah.
I will say something slightly controversial. I love Dana Carvey.
Yeah.
I think most of everything I always saw him on. Church Chat was not always my favorite sketch.
No.
Like, I knew a lot of people that laughed at. He did his little dance and all that, but I thought he did way funnier stuff.
Oh yeah.
And his impressions and some other things I thought were better. Yeah. Church Chat, I understood it. I got that it's funny. And they love recurring characters, especially at that time. But it was never my favorite. I know that after a couple times, and you could say that about a lot of recurring characters, but isn't that special kind of God?
Yeah.
You know, Satan. You know, so I mean, it's still funny. But I will always say I didn't look forward to that. If I knew Wayne's World was on, or I knew some of his other ones, then if he was doing Johnny Carson, if he was doing Stewart, the Bushes thing were real good. If I knew those were coming, I got excited. So, but interesting thing about Dana Carvey is after SNL, you'd think would have been like a big hit.
Yeah,
he never hit movies, and he had his own TV show that didn't work.
No.
So this was his lane right here. So.
Well, and, just the other day, my daughter showed me a Halloween costume that somebody was looking at her. She was, I think, somebody was going to do it, and it was a turtle.
Oh, that's it. So,
and I immediately went, "That's
the thing.
This is not turtly enough
for
you?
the Turtle Club." So that movie, by the way, horrible movie.
That's
but
the best
to
part.
this day, if someone says turtle, I will go, "Am I not turtly enough for the Turtle Club?" Like, I don't even know why. My brain takes over and says that's what I'm doing.
That's the first thing I thought of when she showed me. I was like, no way.
But at the beginning, his Dennis Miller was really good. I mean, he got, hey, Brian. So, but yeah. So Dana Carvey at number 1 for us. Really good. Makes us laugh. That's great.
Yeah.
So that's our list. What do we think of our list after doing it again? I know
I like it.
You wanted to move a couple people around, but I think overall we got it.
Norm, I was gonna, but I think that's just I found him later. I knew of him in SNL, in the 90s or whatever. But then in the 2000s, I caught onto his podcast and stuff, and I realized his humor was
it's crazy.
Was like super cerebral and weird, and I love it. And
he
I'm sad
tells
that he died.
weird jokes. Yeah,
and he was one of those guys you didn't know if he was being serious. Like there's a whole episode where on his talk show where he has David Spade on, and Dave Spade is legitimately confused. He doesn't know what's going on. Like he's looking off camera at his producer, at his agent, and he's like, "What is going on here?"
Yeah.
What? Because at one point he makes David Spade think that they went to commercial, and they didn't really go to commercial. And he asked him these weird. Dave Spade had no idea what was going on, and to rattle David Spade, he totally did it on purpose, but you kind of didn't know if he was doing it on purpose. It was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Anyway.
Well, speaking of David Spade, we had some honorable mentions that didn't make our, they're not honorable mentions. They just fell off our list. We had to get it to 10.
Yeah.
So David Spade was one of those.
Yep.
Obviously, he had some moments.
Yeah.
I can take David Spade in doses.
Yeah.
I don't need him all the time. Chris Rock was really funny. They just didn't always give him a lot to do.
Mm-hmm.
So he'd have kind of these small parts. And they kind of pigeonholed him when he was on the show. A lot of like rap stuff and things like that. They didn't. I felt like they didn't let him spread his wings as much. Jan Hooks, who you just mentioned, she was really funny. She had a lot of good characters. She did that one with Nora Dunn where they sang those singing sisters or whatever. But she was one of those glues that you could kind of put into any sketch. I put Anna Gasteyer. She was part of that with Will Ferrell, and she was great. And Daryl Hammond, great in impersonations, really funny guy.
Really good.
His Sean Connery on the thing is great. So, but overall,
suck it, Trebek.
Yeah, overall, I think SNL for us and a lot of people. This is it become a quoted part of our lives. It spawned movies that we remember forever. It spawned a lot of these actors. And again, like you said, things we say today that I've still said, 40 years ago that for some reason I'm still, and you could run that hot tub sketch, in my opinion, today and people would laugh, right? People might not know who James Brown is anymore, but
we got a hot tub.
We got, and you
at
could
our
do
house.
it.
And I remember that was one of the first things I did. I was like, I was singing hot tub, getting in a hot
There's
tub.
actually on that sketch too. Before they go to commercial, the doctor, she's the sex doctor, Dr. Ruth, or one of those. She's in the hot tub with. It's not really her, but they put a picture of her, and he goes, "Coming back from James Brown's hot tub." It was funny. So, But you got anything else about SNL?
No,
I think we covered it all.
It's a very
big part of our lives.
Big part of our lives.
Yes,
yeah.
it's how you and I converse most of the time.
That's right.
Most of our conversations somehow find its way back to an SNL sketch. So I'm just a teacher. Anyway, folks, if you love today's show or our podcast as a whole, take a quick second, hit the subscribe button on whatever platform you like to listen to us on. If you haven't done so already, and this will guarantee you don't miss any of the new episodes, because you wouldn't want to do that. That'd be crazy. Then if you could, share it with a friend. Get everyone involved. We're fun. We're happy. We're happy fun ball, right? So everything works this week. If you want to contact Rob and I, you can find us on all the social media sites. Send us a message on X, YouTube, Twitter, whatever you're calling it now, Instagram, Facebook. We're there. You can get updates, and we're just happy to hear from you, and you can tell us how great the show is.
That's right. How great. It is great. Rise ye plaid-clad prophets and acid-washed rebels. Join the nostalgic revolution and rise from the ashes of the past. Feeling like a 35-year-old, thrice-divorced, disheveled, sweaty, obese, clumsy, and unstylish motivational speaker who exhibits poor social skills, frequently loses his temper, often disparages and insults his audience, and wallows in cynicism and self-pity about his own poor life choices? If so, put down the government cheese and stop living in your van down by the river. If this is you, you're probably saying to yourselves, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to grab the world by the tail, wrap it around and pull it down and put it in my pocket. Well, Dave and I are here to tell you that you're probably going to find out as you go out there that you're not going to amount to jack squat.
Oh, very uplifting.
I know. Never fear, though. The Total 80s and 90s Recall podcast is the David Beckham to your Posh Spice, the Beyonce to your Jay-Z. Visit Totally 80s and 90s Recall at podbean.com, and we will have you saying, well, la-di frickin' da, faster than you can outrun the Toonsinator.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you like that? Looking for the lost tribe of the 80s and 90s? Send us an email at 80s90srecall@gmail.com. Consider the Totally 80s and 90s Recall podcast your giggle garage.
Interesting.
A place to park your worries and pick up a load of happiness.
Giggle Garage sounds like a strip club, but that's okay. You missed an obvious one there. You're Wayne to your Garth. I mean, for today's episode. Anyway, it writes itself, Rob.
There you go.
So, well, finally, if you're loving the show, do us a favor. Give us a quick 5-star rating. It will really help us get some exposure. Drop a review on Apple or Spotify. Again, we like to hear the good words that you have for us. And let's take this Totally 80s, 90s Recall into the stratosphere. So,
that's right.
You got any closing thoughts, Rob?
I do.
All right.
I do.
And now, Deep Thoughts by Jack Handy.
I thought this was an appropriate one.
I'm sure it is.
For our work that we do. Jack Handy says, perhaps if I am very lucky, the feeble efforts of my lifetime will someday be noticed, and maybe in some small way they will be acknowledged as the greatest works of genius ever created by man.
Nice.
That's why I think that's our life.
So you're hoping us feeble to genius?
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Jack
This
was a
podcast,
smart guy.
yeah,
That's right.
Will
So,
be acknowledged as the greatest works of genius ever created by man.
I can see that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that works.
It's not too far off.
I think we're right there. So, great minds think alike because you stole my entire outro today.
Oh, no.
I went all in on the deep thoughts, too, for my outro. So I'm just going to say this. Folks, that brings us to the end of this episode. We hope you've enjoyed looking back at our favorite Saturday Night Live actors, performers from the 80s and 90s. If you're interested in checking out more 80s and 90s nostalgia, check out our back catalog of shows. In fact, this time last year, we were all right, Rob, when we covered the movie what?
That was, oh gosh, I'm
Dazed.
Dazed and Confused.
There it is.
I wore overalls.
It's almost like you did wear overalls.
And it was hot.
It was very hot.
Yeah.
He's a big sweaty mess.
Yeah.
Finally, a big shout out to you, our listeners. Whether you're tuning in for the first time or a longtime subscriber, we thank you for hanging out with Rob and I. Hopefully, we've given you a great hour or so of laughs and memories. And don't forget to catch all new episodes of Total 80s and 90s Recall every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday. Haven't missed one yet.
Nope.
Hey, what are we doing for next time?
Ooh, interesting one. This is an interesting subject.
This is different.
It is. We are doing our favorite 1980s movie montages. So we're being specific in the movie with a montage. And for anyone who's an 80s movie fan, you'll know what a montage is. And if you're not an 80s movies fan and you're listening, you're like, montage? A, glad you found us.
Yeah.
B, we'll explain it.
I was going to say it's very specific.
It is very
I'm going to
specific.
struggle on this one.
No, you'll be fine.
I like 80s and 90s movies.
Correct.
But then we're getting really specific. Finding montages.
I'm confident you're going to open up a whole new world. All right. It's going to be like Aladdin all over again. And the movie hand will be joining us since it's movie centric. And we got to tap into his expertise. And he brings quite a bit to the table on this one. So where you fail,
he'll pick it up.
He'll pick it right up.
That's right.
So,
I just like being in
problems.
the room with y'all.
That's right.
That's good. Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
You like being in the room with us,
Yeah.
and you also like taking your dollar bills down to the Giggle Garage.
The Giggle Garage.
That's
yeah.
right. So,
yeah. Those girls smell nice.
I bet they do.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you got anything else?
I got nothing else.
Fancy goodbye.
No fancy goodbyes. All right. Peace out.
We're going back. It's too funny. It's so good. And I'll be honest, first time I saw it, I didn't really know who James Brown was either. I knew him from Rocky IV. It's so good.
Get your hot
Well, well, well.